count your money before you go out today, because by the time you come back home, you might not have any left. This is Morning Glory. Let's get it on. Very good morning to Tom Slater. Nice to see you from Spikes Online. We've got many things to discuss. I don't want to get bogged down too much in the budget, though, because it's quite boring. I mean, a lot of people would have watched it yesterday, listened to it yesterday. I watched a bit. Luckily for me, I was actually working in the studios downstairs most of the afternoon, so I didn't actually really see it live as it was happening. But I caught up with a lot of the various little bits and pieces of headlines. But let's see what Beth Rigby managed to get out of Rachel Reeves.
In the manifesto, you criticised the Conservatives for taking the tax burden to a 70-year high. What is it now at the end of this Parliament after your budget? What will it be?
I'm going to be really straight with people. The tax burden overall goes up. But we've made decisions.
From where?
It's the highest burden of tax I recognise.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Well done. Halloween Horror Show is what a lot of people are calling it. They've done her up as a pumpkin on the front page of The Sun, which is actually quite clever. It reminds me of what they used to do to football managers. You know, put the was it Turnip Head, wasn't it? They did many years ago. Rachel Reeves yesterday, but they're saying there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. They didn't actually put fuel tax up, but everything else for ordinary people is basically going to get more expensive.
No, it really is crumbs, isn't it? If you're talking about not putting fuel tax up, I think The Sun has also calculated that the penny off of a pound. The penny off of a pint in the pub, as she said, you'd have to buy like hundreds of them. Well, 500. Yeah, it says drink 500 pints, get one free. Yeah, I mean in London it'd be more like 700 or something these days. But it's still really grim reading. And I think what the most damning thing when you look at the OBR projections that came out afterwards was that this was supposed to be a Labour government that took growth seriously. Yeah. They've downgraded the growth forecast
to 1.6%, which is not really growth at all, is it?
Anemic. Yeah. But this is what we're in for, unfortunately. More of the same trundling along, but with an even higher...
Well, it's tax and spend, isn't it? It's back to the future. It's the same old from the Labour Party. It's all they know how to do. And the fact is that the thing that they've really annoyed people with is this business of pensions and inheritance tax. If you are somebody who's worked quite hard all your life and you've got a bit of a pension, which is a private pension, and you wish to pass it on after you die to your kids or to your wife, they're going to take 40% of it.
No, and that's something which has caused a lot of bad headlines for them. And also, when she actually gave a speech, when she was giving some of the interviews, Rachel Reeves, and run up to this, she was trying to present this as like a budget in line with kind of Labour history. You know, it's going to be like 1945, it's going to be like Wilson and the white heat of technology. At the very least, there was a clear kind of programme, narrative, an offer to the electorate about what was going to change. This just feels like more of what the Tories were doing, but much worse. Yes. And I don't think that's going to... Well, they're sucking money out of the economy. I mean, we're going to be talking to the Scots Whisky Association later on, who are very annoyed because they made a promise by Keir Starmer after they had duty put up 10%, I think, last year. It's now going to cost 12 quid in tax for buying any bottle of whiskey. And they're saying this was something that Keir Starmer said he wouldn't do in November. Similarly, the farmers are saying that he's betrayed them because he promised that they would actually be looked after by a Labour government. And we've got a clip that we're going to see later on in the show. But, you know, absolutely ridiculous. Let's have a look at how Rishi Sunak, on his final day at the dispatch box, actually seemed to come to life.
National insurance, up. Capital gains tax, up. Inheritance tax, up. Energy taxes, up. Business rates, up. First-time buyer stamp duty, up. Pensions tax, up. They have fiddled the figures.
Everybody said, my God, why didn't he do that when he was actually Prime Minister?
No, I haven't seen him that excited since the last Star Wars film came out. It was an incredible spectacle, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's talk as well about some of the other bits and bobs around the budget, because we've got the kind of betrayal of pensioners, the betrayal of winter fuel pensioners, the betrayal of farmers, the betrayal of the drinks industry, the betrayal, basically, of those people who strive to put their children into private schools. That's kicking off, despite the fact that there was some speculation that's going to happen in January. So loads of kids are now going to come back into the state system, and the money they've promised for the state system, it would appear, is only going to be for fixing schools up. It's not actually going to be for building new ones.
No, it's just kind of papering over the cracks. And that's one thing where, even if you look at the people who might have been, you know, in the cabinet, the kind of bigger winners of this budget, you'd think about Wes Streeting and the cash injection he got for capital spending in the NHS. Even he's already admitted that is basically about keeping things more or less trundling along as they were. Well, no one's going to notice.
No, we talked about this earlier in the week, that, you know, he's actually said we're going to put billions into the NHS, but it's not going to make any difference. And you kind of go, well, what are you doing it for? To stand still is what is the answer. And that's when people see that you've got the highest
tax burden ever, essentially, at least with comparable records began. You've got the amount of spending that you're talking about. You've got the supposedly bitter medicine we've all got to swallow, and yet people will not see any measurable difference in their lives or in their public services anytime soon. That's going to catch up with them pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it will. Absolutely right. So people will be angry this morning, I suspect, because, I mean, the only decent thing, I suppose, about some of it is it doesn't kick in straight away. Some of it does. But also on the fuel tax problem, yeah, they might not put fuel tax up, but they put road tax up. So you're going to be paying more for, if you've got a car, you'll be paying more in road tax no matter what, unless it's electric.
No, completely. Just picking one pocket rather than the other.
Yeah.
That's the story of this.
Exactly. I mean, there's literally no good news in it at all, I don't think. And I mean, the thing that really sort of irks me, I suppose, more than anything else, is the picture which everybody's using this morning of Angela Raine, Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves, all sitting on the front bench laughing about causing a great deal of misfortune to people. And I think, you know, as smug as they look, that will come back to haunt them as well, because I don't think people like people who get lots of stuff for nothing. Let's not forget how much freebie stuff that these people get. Punishing people who work hard, trying to take money from them to pay for people who don't have any willingness to work, or to give it to the migrants or whoever's coming into the country for free. You know, it's going to come back and kick them in the backside, I think.
And they've already kind of lost the argument over this budget, I think, because they were trying to say that this was going to be difficult decisions, this was going to be them being responsible and not just taking the easy road. But when you've had the freebie scandal, when you've had the terrible start that they've had, people just don't trust them to make these tough decisions.
No,
so
and also don't look so pleased with yourselves, you know.
Absolutely. They're terrible at politics.
One particular low light for the day for me was what Angela Raine was wearing on her feet. You know, we talk about people wearing clown shoes. I mean, she actually is wearing them. Have a look. We can go in tight. This is thanks to a friend of ours here at Talk, Nigel Howard, who was taking pictures yesterday in Downing Street. They look like sort of Dr. Martens. There should be one that's a close-up. There you go. Pink-soled boots. I don't know what you would call those, but I'm told they're quite expensive. I don't know if Lord Ali supplied them or whether she bought them herself. I have no idea.
You'd hope they were back to buying their own clothes.
But it looks like she's about to give somebody a kicking. You know, that's what you wear.
Well, in a way, she was.
That's what you wear to the football, isn't it? You know.
But maybe it's apt, given the kicking the electorate's fine.
That's a very good point. I like what you did there. So we've got lots of other stories to talk about, including, of course, this gagging order that was issued yesterday in Parliament by the Speaker of the House, who basically said he didn't want any MPs discussing the Southport situation for fear of prejudicing the trial. Well, that's all very well, but there's many things you can talk about around what Keir Starmer knew and when he knew it, which does not prejudice the trial in any way, shape or form. So